Good evening, peoples, and welcome back to my living room. I'm Pastor Leia, and this is Gingersnap, who is very excited to be getting some attention. It being December, I've been doing a lot of work for upcoming events, which has really cut into her being petted time. Anyway, it is Advent, specifically the third week, clearly, or I would not be wearing so much pink. Not a pink person. I know, you look great in pink. It's not so much my thing. That's fine. We can have different things. So it's the third week of Advent, and we have been on these Bible study evenings, been taking a closer look into our readings from our worship series for the season, From Generation to Generation, so that we can also look at the readings alongside the beautiful art that comes along with the series. So tonight we return to a story from the first chapter of Matthew that we read on Sunday. Also, it occurred to me this past week that I had never preached this text or even had it come up, which, I guess, this is now round 6 of Advent and Christmas for me here, but it kind of seems like it should have come up, and it hasn't. So anyway, we're getting it now. From the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1, 18-25. Now, the birth of Jesus the Messiah took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been engaged to Joseph, but don't bite my earring. That's not part of the story. Mary had been engaged to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. Her husband Joseph, being a righteous man and unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. But just when he had resolved to do this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you will name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." All this took place to fulfill what had been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. "Look, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke from sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took her as his wife, but had no marital relations with her until she had borne a son, and he named him Jesus. This is the word of the Lord. So now we can take a closer look at again, we don't bite jewelry. That probably, applies to you too, watching at home. Don't bite jewelry. Good rule of thumb. Yes, I am trying to shame you to the internet. So our art for this week, The Courageous Choice by the Reverend Lisle Gwynn Garrity, and I wanted to read her artist statement reflecting on this piece. She writes, "When Joseph learns that his engagement has turned into a scandal, he decides to dismiss Mary quietly. While this choice may seem like a compassionate one, it's also a passive choice, one with little cost to Joseph, but great consequences for Mary. As an unmarried mother, she and her child would be incredibly vulnerable, shunned by society, perhaps cut off from family support and resources. This choice means Joseph's reputation remains unharmed, while pregnant Mary will live on with mounting shame and threats cast upon her." While Joseph is thinking about all of this, perhaps deliberating about how he will delicately manage the social perceptions of this unexpected turn in his life, an angel comes to him in his dreams. What I find most interesting is that the angel doesn't command Joseph. Instead, he simply says, "Don't be afraid." He essentially says, don't be afraid of the social stigma. Don't be afraid to become a parent through adoption. Don't be afraid to experience a love greater than you have ever known. Don't be afraid to make the courageous choice, the one that will not only change your life, but the lives of Mary and Jesus and so many generations who will come after you. In this image, I've captured Joseph in the liminal space where his dreams will soon shape his reality. He rests his head on a folded blanket, which represents the woven tapestry of his ancestors who also made difficult choices for good. Gold interconnecting lines, like the roots and branches of a family tree, envelop him, symbolizing the beautiful web of regeneration that will come from his courage. As we reflect on the Christmas story through Joseph's experience, may we, too, have the courage to choose a better way. Joys of having a pet I'm allergic to. So I think those are some really great details and like bits of thought that went into this piece with the gold line and the it's just really pretty. And I love the color palette of it is just, it's a very pretty piece. Anyway. So friends, there are of course many things upcoming at the church, hence why I have been very busy and not petting my cat as I apparently should be. This week, of course, tomorrow night, as I am recording this, we have game night, the second Wednesday of the month, so you could come by. I'm going to be making gingerbread bars, and they're pretty good. I'm just saying, come and, hang out with me and play games and eat cookies. Game night is kind of for like ages 15 and up. They're more like conversational games that, well, you're not invited. I'm sorry. On Thursday, I might actually bring her to knitting at the church. We gather once a month as we work on knitting hats for cancer patients that we drop off at St. Joe's, and sometimes she does actually come with me for that. Cats love yarn, so it's a good fit. Next week, on Wednesday, December 21st, is the winter solstice, so I will be hosting our, 5th annual, I think, longest night service. Longest night is not exactly like an alternative Christmas service. It's still focusing on the same themes of Christ coming into the world and light conquering darkness, but it kind of focuses more on those themes without the holiday punch of, pun intended, I guess, of the Christmas carols and all of the trappings of the holiday, because sometimes there's a lot of baggage there, and if what looks like a perfect Christmas to you is a Christmas celebrated with a loved one who is no longer with you or is physically unable to be with you, that sort of thing, then it can be a nice opportunity to be able to celebrate Christmas without having to feel guilty about not being as upbeat and perky and glitter wearing and tinsel throwing as we feel we're supposed to be. We've had a couple Christmases that haven't been great, and I hope that this year is better, but the reality is that there are still disappointments, and the reality is that we are still unable to be with everybody that we would like to be with, because so many of us are still being very cautious in travel. I mean, not that I can go anywhere for Christmas ever myself, but anyway, so I would love if that appeals to you at all. Please join us for that. It will not be live streamed, so you wouldn't be able to watch it at home, but there will be a Wednesday evening prayer service that will it should be posted to come out around 8 that night. Anyway, and of course, Christmas Eve, the whole Christmas Eve thing, December 24th, 7 p.m. Come to church. Good times. Anyway, now finally you settle in. Of course you do. So, peoples, good night and happy Advent. We don't bite jewelry.